Good morning. I'm Karlis Aleksa. I'm welcoming students, faculty, university leadership, rector Inga Žalėnienė, their excellencies ambassadors, and I'm happy to announce that we are about to proceed with Dr. Lama's NATO hearings, which are taking place 8 times in a row. If not for COVID pandemic, it would be 10 years anniversary. And obviously, first to speak is our keynote speaker, honorary professor of MIU, and Dr. Karl A, old friend of this university, Lithuania, and the politician who is absolutely immersed in issues of security and transatlantic relationship. Now, members of the panel will be introduced when the turn for them will arrive. And we start with keynote speech. And Karl, last year, your main point was NATO is strong as never before, but it needs to be stronger in order to help Ukraine. Now we have a certain guy named Donald Trump in the White House. So how today looks the question of NATO being strong as never before? Are we heading towards stronger NATO, or rather the opposite? So, Karl, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Magnificence, dear Professor Inga Žalėnienė, dear Professor Virgis Valentinavičius, dear Rasa, dear Petras, dear Šigimantas, dear Mr. Česnakas, dear Mr. Pugačauskas, and from the German brigade, I will address Mr. Funk. Excellencies, ambassadors, deans, professors, members of the university, students, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by saying happy birthday. Happy birthday to this great university, Mykolos Romeris University, to the 35th anniversary this year. Congratulations to everyone here, especially to our rector, Magnificence, dear Inga, to everything what you have achieved in the past. This university has a unique spirit. It's a place for exceptional ideas and sustainable development, for innovations, very talented students, excellent professors and researchers. In short, it is the best place to study, to teach and research. Congratulations to you all. And once again, thank you, dear Magnificence and dear Virgis Valentinavičius, for over a decade of very trustful cooperation. I wish Mykolos Romeris University all the best for the next thriving years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and pleasure for me to be here again. And everybody who knows me knows that Lithuania, the Baltic states, and especially this university is my second home. Your country and this university has a very special place in my heart. I was 27 years member of German Parliament and 24 years in NATO Parliamentary Assembly, together with Rasa Juknevic and with Petras Auštrevičius. And I can tell you, I have always been just right at your side. And I think you can confirm this, sir. So, thank you very much, and congratulations for everything what you have achieved in this country during the last decades. Yes, Vigis asked me for the new presidency of Donald Trump. There are many concerns that many people associate with his presidency. Let me start. We live in a time of seismic shifts and fundamental changes. There are wars and severe conflicts between states everywhere. When you look to Ukraine, and I address a new Ukrainian ambassador, welcome here. And I can tell you, before my speech, we do our utmost that you will be the winner in this war. All the best for your country. Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.
If you look to Ukraine, Russia, to Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthi, and now to the nuclear-armed Pakistan and India. And there are violent tensions also within our societies, all over the globe. What we believed in for decades can be different when we wake up in the morning. Only one certainty is left. Since Donald Trump is sitting in the White House and now again for his second term, a new era has begun. Since then, the relations between the United States and its allies and partners are on a roller coaster ride with twists and turns. All our consciences for decades are fundamentally questioned. Let me point out 3 points. First, the meeting of the President, Donald Trump, Vice President, Foreign Minister, 28th of February this year in the Oval Office of the White House. I have been in this room many, many years ago when Bill Clinton was President of the United States. I know the dignity of this room, and I think nobody could imagine what happened on this day when Donald Trump and all the others angrily attacked Ukrainian President Zelensky. That is a hinge point in the history of our Western world. I couldn't imagine this before, and I could not believe how they both were speaking to the Ukrainian president in public. Ladies and gentlemen, let me point out the second point. It was the first time on 24th of February, 3 years after the starting of the war, that the United States didn't vote for a resolution in the United Nations in which Russia was called the aggressor in this brutal war against Ukraine. Russia is the aggressor, and therefore I cannot imagine why not all Western countries couldn't agree to this resolution. Even in the time when Korea is no longer hiding its involvement in the war and it's letting its troops now officially fight alongside with Russia, maybe soon in east and in the south of Ukraine. And let me speak of values and of a third point, that is American troops in Europe. We have now about 78,000 American soldiers in Europe, 37,000 in Germany. And now there is opened a discussion again of a maybe potential withdrawal of troops from the United States back to America or where else. I think this is not good. We must need a clear signal. We stay together, Europe and United States, and not open a discussion if they will withdraw. And I think what the Defense Secretary Hexet said, that the troops will not be present in Europe forever, and NATO's generals already and always warn that such a step would significantly reduce deterrence against Russia and inevitably slow down a reaction to an attack. So what have we to do? We must prevent this. And I think we have, beside of this, strengthened the European pillar in the NATO bridge with 2 pillars, United States, Canada, and Europe, We have to stay together, but we have to strengthen the European pillar for the future. I think that is a very clear message from me, and I hope that we will do this. Let me speak about our issue today, NATO Summit in The Hague 2025. It will take place from the 24th to 26th of June, first time in Netherlands, you know why. Around 45 heads of state and government, Minister of Foreign Affairs and vice ministers will participate. I will address 4 topics. On the top of the summit agenda will be, Excellency, Allied support for Ukraine. The terrible war in Ukraine is raging now for 3 very deadly and painful long years. Today, 1,180 days. And I think now it's time to stop it. And the Ukrainian soldiers are fighting bravely for their country. I've been several times in your country. The Russians keep bombing women, men, old people, young people, and even kids on the playgrounds. And I am fully convinced that Putin will hold on to his dream to create the trinity of Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus. He will not stop it, and he will not stop the war. He tries to destroy and to delete Ukraine as a nation, and to create a new world order together with China, together with Iran, together with North Korea, his great dictator colleagues. And I think that we have to prevent this. They try to change and to change borders with military means, with arms. They try to build up a world in which not the strength of the law, but the right of the strongest will have a chance. And I think this is not the world in which we all want to live. There is no chance of disarmament and to live in the world in which only a country will win who has nuclear weapons and is threatening with these against all rules of United Nations. That is a world we have not to accept. So I think what we have to do is to stand together in Europe, to stand together with the United States. And so I think the new German Chancellor who will visit your country in a few days on Thursday, he had a meeting with his colleagues from France. I welcome the ambassador of France here in Vilnius, with United Kingdom, with Poland. And then they had a telephone call to Trump and they said, we need unconditional ceasefire on Monday last week. And Putin said no. And I think it was right to threaten him and to say, if not, then we will enhance the sanctions. I wait for them, and maybe tomorrow they will start. They have announced it. We wait for the call today between Trump and Putin. We'll see what happened. Yesterday we had a call of the European leaders with Trump to prepare him for this call. And I hope they will be successful. I think Putin will not stop the war. And my message is, Putin fears democracies more than NATO. A democratic Ukraine is crazy for Putin. And so we have to do our utmost exactly to reach this. What have we to do? What has to be done? I think we have to support Ukraine as long as possible with all our instruments. We have to deliver more defense systems and weapons. And we have to contribute to a just and lasting peace. We have to explain, Mr. Trump, what it means, lasting peace. And I'm a convinced European, but I'm also a convinced transatlanticist. We have to keep the United States on the boat and on board. Whatever will happen in the United States, we are not able to reach our aims without the United States now. So let us work together. And the question if we will deliver Taurus, a very important question. I'm not the Chancellor, and this will be a decision of our Chancellor. But I know Friedrich Merz in 30 years. We are very well friended. And during the election campaign, he said, yes, if the situation is there, then I will deliver. Let me say, if Putin will go on bombing your country, Ambassador, bombing people, not only the infrastructure, not soldiers, bombing civilian people, if we will not stop bombing children on the playground, I think we have to do. But we have a change in the German policy. A good chess player thinks several moves ahead. But what he does not is to predict these moves to the opponents on social media. So I think it was a mistake during the last years to tell Putin and the whole world what we are doing, what are our next steps. Which tanks do we deliver, which airplanes, which helms? I think that's wrong. We have not to speak about it, but we have to do it. And I think, and that is my position, we have to do our utmost to help you, to assist you, and to bring you in a position where you can reach a just and lasting peace. Next point is burden sharing and defense spending. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a situation that 23 from 32 countries pay 2% of the GDP for NATO defense capabilities. That was decided on the Wales Summit on the 5th of September 2014, in the year of the annexation of Crimea. And that annexation is, like the word says, against legal right. And we said 2%. And many countries needed 10 years to reach it, and some didn't do. I think the world has totally changed, and so I agree. When we speak about more money to spend, it is for our own security. We must know this. There is a dictator in Russia making a war against your country, but he is looking beyond. He will not only destroy Ukraine, he will maybe restore UdSSR 2.0. And maybe he looks to Lithuania, to Estonia, to Latvia, to Poland, and to other countries. And I think we have now to send him a clear message, yes, we will do more. President Trump, you know him, he says 5%. Looking what he is doing, 3.4. Okay, that's more than 2, but it's not 5. We have Poland, 4.1. We have Lithuania, how much?
4.9.
Huh?
3.9.
3.9, at a very high level. And you are doing more and more. And my congratulations and respect for that, what you are doing here. And then let us look to Russia. Russia has increased his budget for military 38% from last year to now to 7.1. 7.1. That's the reality. And what is the discussion in Germany? You know, we have a new coalition. We have a new chancellor. It's my friend, it's good. And I can tell you that he will make a strong message, I think, on Thursday here too, that we will do what is necessary. And so we have changed our constitution with a two-thirds majority before the constitution of this government. And we also got the agreement of the Greens. They are no longer in the government, but they agreed in the parliament. So that we now have the situation that all expenditures for defense exceeding 1% of the budget are exempt from the debt brake in Germany. So that means, in clear words, we have money for everything what is necessary to spend for military instruments and measures. And that's good. That's a good message and very clear to put in. And looking to that, what you are doing, we all are seeking a temporary exemption from the fiscal rules of the European Union. So Lithuania has decided to spend an additional, I hope I'm right, 12 billion euros on defense between 2026 to 2030. That would mean 5 to 6%. That's very, very impressive. But that must be the signal to Russia. We will not accept imperialism of Russia. We will not accept imperialism of Putin. And we will do our utmost that we have the chance to live in peace and freedom and in justice in the future. The rearm, and now I speak to my European friends of the European Parliament, Rearm Europe plan by the European Commission and the joint white paper for European defense readiness 2030. That's great. But I ask me, 2030, if you see the discussion in Germany, you say Putin may be attacked, will be attacked in 4 or 5 years. Why not earlier? I'm the honorary consul for Estonia, and I just heard that Russia made an attack to a what? To a ship tonight. So Narva, I've been there. That is 2 meters from the border to Russia. Why do we speak about 4 or 5 years? Why not tomorrow? He will test NATO, what we are doing. But he should not test. And we should give him a clear message that if he tries to test NATO, and this is my signal from Vilnius to President Trump, I hope he will hear it, that we stand together and that he should not try to do it. NATO stands together if he tries to test us. The last 2 points is defense on NATO's eastern flank. In 3 days, and Mr. Funk is here from the German Brigade, thank you very much for your service. The inauguration of the 45th Armored German Brigade under the leadership of Brigadier General Christoph Huber will be here in Vilnius. The Chancellor will be here, the Defense Minister Pistorius, both are good friends of mine, will be here, and that demonstrates how important this event is. It is the ironclad commitment to defend Lithuania's freedom and security here on NATO's eastern flank. I was always strongly supporting the plan to expand the multinational battle group in Rukla into a permanently stationed military brigade, even to a time when it was discussed in Germany. So this meeting is always in front of that what will be decided. When the brigade reaches its full operating capability in 2027, 5,000 soldiers and their families will live in the country, maybe 20,000 people. And this is a message: Germany stands with you. Your security is our security. The dictator in Kremlin should never try, I repeat, to test us. NATO is ready to defend every part of its territory at any time. And I appreciate President Nauseda. I visited him, I think, 1 year ago, and he said, I want the German soldiers to feel more comfortable than in their homeland. Okay, but that's good. So thank you, Mr. President Nauseda. Second, I am very happy to see that more and more German companies are coming to Lithuania. Rheinmetall, a new ammunition factory in collaboration with Lithuanian firms in early 2027, which will further bolster Lithuania's defense capabilities. And I will speak about first AVAX aircraft landed in Karolis base. In the AVAX aircraft will conduct surveillance missions over the Baltic Sea region to increase resilience and train operational flexibility and readiness. And last point is looking to China. We are in a big trouble now in the world, especially in customs and trade, and China is saying, oh, you can rely on us. But you must see that China supports Russia in the war against your country and is making trouble in the South China Sea. Against Taiwan, I visited Taiwan 6 times of my life. It's a great country and they will attack it. And so let us be careful regarding to China. We say in Germany no decoupling, then we say de-risking, but now we say rebalancing our relations to get more independence from China and to see that 4 countries, Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, are working together to create a new world order. And now we have to make a cooperation between IP in the Pacific 4. That means Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and South Korea, to live in a world in which we can be free also tomorrow. Let me finish with a quote. Pessimism leads to weakness. Optimism leads to power. But wisdom walks a careful path between them. As paraphrased words from American philosopher William James are saying, my message today is let's stay together. Europe, United States. We support Ukraine. We look forward to a future in peace. And vigilance is the price of liberty. That is the motto of NATO. And I think that is what we have to reach. Nurce J. Dekoyu Ush Yusu Demesi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean.
Well, thank you, Karl, for keynote speech. And so key points of the speech, I believe that, yes, of course, we have problems with the guy in the White House with his unpredictability, but that does not mean that we can have a luxury to throw him out of the boat. We need to find ways to keep him on board. And while Putin is designing plans to change world order, we refuse to accept. The main point here is to make European pillar of NATO stronger. Thank you. Now, last minute addition to our discussion panel is Rasa Juknevičienė, former Defense Minister of Lithuania, now a member of European Parliament and influential member of the leadership of European People's Party. Rasa, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts, first of all, thank you for the invitation. And I would like especially to thank Karl Lammers, my good friend. For 20 years almost we were together in NATO PA. He was some kind teacher for us, but also I am thankful to him because he was not very many actually at that time, so-called Westerners. He was listening to us. Those crazy Lithuanians, crazy Baltics, single issue states, you know, those messages, those who had some phantom pains. I am quoting now French Minister of Defense, his message to me in 2010, and so on and so on. And at that time, he was the guy who was listening, we were debating, we were sometimes not on the same line, but very, very few times on that. And I agree with everything what he just mentioned, but my thoughts also, one thing I would like to underline, not exactly what I was putting as my speaking notes, little bit additionally. I don't like when, until now, and especially now, of course, it's because of Trump administration, to say, when we speak about Ukraine, as long as it's possible, or as long as it takes. Still, I am convinced at the same point, I am like it was in 2022 February, we must support Ukraine until victory. It's very different, because as long as it takes, or as long as it's possible, it means that if they will lose, oops, it's not possible anymore. It means that we are not convinced, we don't have political will enough to help Ukraine to win, because it's our destiny as well in European continent. And those differences we have now, not only because of Trump administration, but because of Biden administration before, are the same. Because in those capitals, they have capabilities, they are afraid to defeat Putin, to defeat current Russian regime. Because everybody, or not everybody, but very many accepted the position that, look, it's a huge country, it's a nuclear country, and we are not able. We are able. We already were able to do this when Ukrainians pushed back Russians from Kherson and Kharkiv. If at that time we would have enough political will and coordinated, combined resources to use, maybe today's situation could be different. But this is lack of political will, a lack of political understanding that we are much stronger. Even the European Union without the US is much stronger than Russia is. But nevertheless, saying those little bit pessimistic messages, my last point, I don't want to take all the time, on that, my main thoughts are that this is also opportunities for us, especially Europeans. When I am listening today news about EU and United Kingdom new step forward to be back on further better relationship, it's also opportunity which is not because we just came to this point, but because of the security situation. This is what we are debating now in European Parliament, and huge difference as it was before 2022. It's about security and defense. It's first time it became like a priority in a very many European member states, including countries like Portugal or Spain or others. They don't feel maybe a direct threat as we feel here. And this is what changed our understanding now. We are voting in the European Parliament for those resolutions or documents for defense and security with, I don't know, close to 500 in favor out of 720 members of European Parliament, and a lot of other issues. My good friend Andrius Kubilius, and many know him as Defense Commissioner, and Kaja Kallas in the position of foreign and security affairs in European. Imagine this. 2 Baltic members, politicians in those positions some 3 years or 5 years ago, it would be not possible to imagine. And those strategies, be it Arm Europe, be it other, still not yet, of course, we are too slow and other problems, I will not say about that, but we have an opportunity and enough capabilities to become together, to fulfill those gaps in NATO inside, when 70% American resources and only 30% rest of NATO. It's not appropriate. Of course, Trump is right. on this topic. So opportunities ahead of us, not to be afraid to defeat Putin, help Ukraine to win, to organize ourselves as defense union, and that's our, I think, priorities in this very optimistic approach. Without optimistic approach, we will lose. We have to have optimistic approach.
Thank you, Rasa. I believe major points she made are that Europe can deliver on defense, and the major issue is political will, and the formula to support until necessary is not enough. You need support for victory, because it is an expression of political will. Now, our next speaker is, again, last-minute replacement, because you see Vice Minister on the list. At the last minute, he was not able to attend, and Professor Giedrius Česnakas, who is serving as an advisor to Defense Ministry, is here for us to replace Vice Minister. Giedrius, institution you represent is about to deliver in practical terms about what politicians are speaking as politicians. So how you see situation in practical terms? Now you are building facilities for German brigade. You have a lot of work on your hands. So how it's going in your evaluation?
Okay, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure of being here and participate as a speaker, because for many years I was a listener on the other side, but I think that shaped me to some extent. What you asked are really good questions, and I can make a joke that if we had only a German brigade in Lithuania on our hands, that would be simple. Unfortunately, we have many more questions to address. You know, from procurement to capabilities to manpower to NATO and the cooperation with allies and building the defense. So it's a modernization of the army. So there is plenty to do at the same time, and we're trying to do as best as we can in the shortest time as possible, because we know that the gravity of the situation is very high, and obviously Russia's invasion of Ukraine of 2022 is just one piece of puzzle in the greater picture. And let's not forget that in December 2021, Russia sent a very clear letter to NATO that demands what it wants to see, the Eastern Central Europe, and I have no questions that it still has these ambitions to achieve those goals. When we talk about Russia's progress in war against Ukraine, we usually talk about how many kilometers it advanced or how many thousands of soldiers it lost. But I think it's wrong approach, because Russia's aims are not territorial. Its aims are, you know, of bigger political goals, basically to destroy or, you know, incorporate Ukraine and to rebuild its, as you mentioned, the Soviet Union 2.0. Well, it depends, you know, how much they will willing to go, but I think that is clear, and we should have no you know, illusions about that. At the same time, I want to underline that we are in the war of the shadows already, and it's not only conventional bombs and that are falling on us, but we see hybrid attacks. We see, you know, GPS jammings and so on. We see how Russians are persuading or paying for particular individuals to do arsons, to do attacks against infrastructure, private and public. So we are already in war, and if we openly say that Russia will be ready to begin an invasion against the Baltic states possibly in 3 to 5 years, and we have to be ready 3 to 5 years, I think this is also not a positive approach, because from that perspective, you will not attack an enemy which will be ready by then. You will try to attack before that, when it's not ready. And when we see possibilities how much tanks, drones or rockets Russia can produce, what are its goals of stationing troops on the border with NATO, so we need to work even faster. And by we, I mean not only Lithuania, but all our NATO allies in Europe and on the other side of the ocean. Now we will inaugurate, German brigade on the May 22nd, and I invite everybody to Cathedral Square to participate in that. But at the same time, when we talk about, we see that there's a lot of discussions about U.S. commitment to NATO, and what we cannot be sure about U.S. positions and so on. I think before the weekend we heard the position that the United States is kind of planning to decrease number of troops in Europe. But, and there's a very important element, they are ready to negotiate how to do this in a practical matter that will not create defense concerns for Europeans. And I think it's a right approach, because Europeans, 450 million people, can take care about the defense. It will take time to create strategic level enablers, but we can do this, and especially now with the aims to increase possibilities for the borrowing. It's only one step, but we have to think more about the possible defense budgets or something similar, how we can cooperate, how we can focus on that. And at the same time, we have to understand that if the large-scale attack will happen, it will happen on the eastern flank, not somewhere in the center or in the west. Those countries have to be ready in the logistic matters to provide capabilities and power, manpower as well, but the strengthening of the eastern flank is the essence to prevent the attack, to preferably deter, but if necessary to defend. And we are talking about forward defense, which means not only that we will be waiting until the attack will happen and we will defend only in our territory. We have to think broader, how to deter the aggressor. So the unity of transatlantic link is the key, and we have to work with the partners which we have now, but taking into account long-term perspectives, interests of United States in the long term, and European interests, there are no alternatives. And NATO +4 from Indo-Pacific countries, it's what works and will probably be strengthened in the longer term. That's what we see. Now, about the defense spending, of course, Lithuania will increase defense spending up to more than 5% next year, and we encourage all our allies to do the same. We understand that timetables might be difficult, but we have to agree that at least 3.5% for purely defense matters is the necessity, while other possibilities to reach 5% with the military mobility infrastructure is possible. But 3.5 should be as a, not a way to back up. Now, when we talk about third point is the strong defense and industry capacity, yes, we are for that. We need to increase procurement. We need to make it more efficient. But when we talk about bigger money for defense industry, we also have to talk about what defense industry we are talking about. We can no longer invest in the legacy systems. We have to take into account the lessons we learned from Ukrainians' defense and what systems are most possible, what gives the biggest bang for a buck. This is the necessary what we have to focus. And the fourth and last element I want to mention about the support for Ukraine. I totally agree with Ms. Rasa Yuknevичina, because Russia on Friday said that it is ready to fight for 21 years, at least. For as long as it takes, it is not working for us, because every day the war drags, innocent people in Ukraine and its soldiers dies, and we don't want to see that. So Lithuania is committed to 0.25% of GDP. Probably it will be higher. Yes, last year it was higher. And of course, we are supporting its membership in NATO and European Union as a way to secure it. But we are ready also to put our effort, if necessary, to provide security and deterrence for Ukraine in that matter. So I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I think major points were that Russian claims are not territorial, but to change world's order. And aggressor attacks not when you are ready, but before. Therefore, things need to be moved faster. And Giedrius mentioned 450 million of Europeans. Just today, National Broadcaster published an interview with my former boss now, member of European Commission, Andrius Kubilius, where he said that 450 million of Europeans shouldn't be asking 370 million of Americans to defend Europeans against 140 million Russians who are not able to overpower 38 million of Ukrainians. Now, our next speaker is Petras Auštrevičius, member of European Parliament and representative of Liberal Party of Lithuania, Liberalų Sąjūdis. Once upon a time, he was a chief negotiator for EU access talks. And believe it or not, this guy, once upon a time, was called unofficially Mr. Europe. Yeah. So, Mr. Europe, what you can tell about this European pillar? Is Europe able to deliver?
Thank you, Virgis, and good morning to everybody, in particular Romeris University community, dear guest ambassadors, friends, and indeed, dear Karl, welcome to Vilnius. It's good to see you. Over the decade, you become a very part of Romeris University community. You developed really an exemplary bond with this university through your dedication, through your participation. Your part of university library is a very good example of how politicians must not just perform their political duties, but to be integrated with your local and sometimes with your foreign countries through things what people understand very well. Kind of practical engagement and support when it's needed. Well, in this 10 years time period, I mean, from today's perspective, it looks like a century. I mean, so much of changes we have witnessed, and probably still we will. And that period is still on. It's on. I'm very happy to see within this framework, time framework, a very strategic partnership which is emerged and continues to be strengthened between Lithuania and Germany. I don't see any limits for our cooperation. Military, defense, industry, economy. I'm looking forward to joint military units. Why not? I think I'm not a dreamer in this regard. We have to learn, we have to integrate our knowledge, our readiness, as well as most competitive features of our cooperation into something common. Since we're speaking about the common European approach, it's not national, not anymore. By one, we fail. By being united, we withstand and we win. So that's why, Karl, thank you for your contribution. I'm sure you will stay engaged. And we need this political support, explaining our citizens, which is so important, since even now, when there is a great need for defense spending, defense engagement, some voices are calling it militarization. No, it's not militarization. It is what we do in order to be, safe, secure, and forward-looking. So that's why, to explain it to societies, it's not a kind of self-done kind of exercise. Well, indeed, we're moving from defense, especially defense industries, not performing enough, to something what Europe calls now rearm, to strengthen our defense capacities and so on. But our security is not just about defense industries. Our real security lies within defense union. And this is something yet not achieved, not accomplished. And what Europeans didn't do in 1954, when the European Union was formed and there was a clear plan, a package proposed for a vote in the national parliaments of 6 at that time. And because of some probably lack of vision, the defense union was not, or community was not in place since then. But now, I mean, all forgotten past must become a new beginning for all of us. I'm looking forward for this process much, including our partners, Ukraine, UK, Norway, same-minded and like-minded our partner countries, in particular in Europe and worldwide. I'm sure we will find good structures, good platforms for our cooperation. But this is something that is a step forward from just a defense union, defense industries enhancing and strengthening. So, if to speak about what should be done and will be done, I'm sure, because we are different now. We are more realistic in assessing today's situation. Indeed, 3 points to be mentioned. Europe more united and resilient politically. I commend the outcome of election in Romania. It's a good probably example once society is mobilized and well explained what kind of the candidate they might receive if they vote for rather very nationalistic and anti-European candidate. I hope things will develop same way in our neighboring country, Poland. We need a strong partnership and more European common vision rather than being distorted in this regard. Secondly, strong defense is not just spending public money and sometimes private money. It is investment. It is investment into our safe future, and we have to keep explaining it to our partners, our societies all around, in order to avoid unnecessary internal debate and distraction. And thirdly, I hope that our cooperation, economic cooperation, new projects, will be not about Nord Stream. I do hope it's past. Karl, I mean, 10 years ago, Nord Stream was more important than European defense community at that time. Nobody spoke about the defense community, but everybody about Nord Stream, because it was bringing money and sometimes neglected in terms of public corruption. I believe, as never before, Magnitsky Act is important and relevant to understand and to be applied in all our societies on the Western side. Because those powers who see our future differently, they will never shy away, fueling money through that influence, impact on all of us. So let's be vigilant in this regard. So, Virgis, thank you very much for 8th Carlos Lamer's hearings. I'm looking forward for the following ones. We have to debate, and by debating we agree, and then we translate our words into deeds. Thank you.
Thank you, Petras. I think without doubt your major point made was going back to this long-forgotten idea of European Defence Union with addition of non-EU members. Things change. This talk would be impossible just a year or 5 years ago. Now it's on the table. Now, our next speaker is Žygimantas Pavilionis, who made no secret for many years that he is in passionate love with the United States of America. I love America too. I did it for many years. But Žygimantas, now it is tough love, is it not?
Okay, I'm eternal optimist, and optimists are the people who in each problem sees an opportunity. To the left, I have my former professor of philosophy, and I graduated. I still remember, by the way, your philosophy in Rome University buildings somewhere here. To the left, to the right, I have my chief negotiator. I was his deputy, and we made it to EU together. To the far right, I have the EU representative, and I still remember Junge Union investing into me as a politician. Today we are strong, one of the strongest Central European parties. So to make it optimist, I think I'm just back from DC. That is my 4th visit under Trump, and I will soon be back in another month. It will be my 5th visit. So first of all, when America goes a bit mad, this is an opportunity for us to be as strong as possible. And I remember our leader, von der Leyen, speaking in Valencia. She was more or less trying to say that if Americans are closing the markets, this is for us time to shine freedom and free trade. We have 77 free trade agreements, and we will have go and spread the wings to others. You know, we have Indo-Pacific region, we have Canada, we have Norway, who is already kind of reminding us that maybe it's time to rejoin the European family. We have Brits who are more or less signaling that, well, I'm not talking about mistakes, but it's about time to reunite, you know, a bit, at least where we can. So this is European time, and I agree very much with Petras. This is time also of deepening. As von der Leyen said, if we dismantle some barriers that we have inside, that will make us grow even 10% GDP more. And this is pleasant when American economy is shrinking and dollar is falling and we're growing. So let's grab the opportunity. If somebody wants to be strong, let's be strong. We can do it. And this is also about enlargement. As again, citing von der Leyen, 150 150 million of people are trying to be part of us, if to count all the candidate countries. So let's open the gates. Let's discuss it. And also, of course, let's break some rules that we created for Balkans not to enter EU. I'm speaking about veto power to open the chapters. We discussed it with our French friends in EPP also, and EPP made a resolution that let's remove those barriers and let's start accession negotiations, real accession negotiations, unfortunately still blocked by Hungary. I hope Ambassador deals with that. And then, if we enlarge not only to Ukraine, Moldova, Armenia is waiting for us, and we welcomed Armenia in last EPP summit. We have to help our Armenian friends, not to forget Georgians, and not to forget Belarusians. And thank you for Romeris University, who was the first in Lithuania to host European Humanities University. Those kids and students who are the future of Belarus, of European Belarus, because I do not believe that Belarus will stay with Putin if we enlarge EU to Ukraine. And now I come back to your question and America. Well, America is still using all opportunities to do all the mistakes until they finally arrive to the good side of the moon, and we have to help Americans do it. How can we help? First of all, each parliament can make a resolution about territorial integrity of Ukraine, because this is American resolution of Sumner Welles that we, still remember, that saved our souls when American Secretary of State, with the support of Congress, made that resolution, and we resurfaced in 50 years. So please, French Parliament, Spanish Parliament, British Parliament, make those resolutions. Make it clear to Americans that we will never, ever surrender a centimeter of territory to occupant, because if we do, that might be the end of all of us. Yeah. And by the way, American congressmen are moving this resolution. Such kind of resolution is now in the Foreign Affairs Committee, initiated by Brian Fitzpatrick, who is chair of Ukrainian group. Secondly, let's remind Americans that it is in NATO treaty said that each European country that fulfills the obligation can become part of NATO. We have a little problem in Vilnius NATO summit when former German chancellor, together with American president, said no to invitation of Ukraine. But now the problem, it seems, solved. As you said, you have a very good chancellor and he is your friend. And we understand that those German Christian Democrats support Ukrainian membership in NATO. So let's go now back to Washington, like I did with my French colleagues. Let's go back as Europeans, and I will do it exactly in June. I will travel with extended Weimar, with French and Spanish and Germans and Czechs and everybody, and we will demand abide by the rules of NATO. It's not only spending, it's also NATO enlargement. And last thing, let's explain to Americans that rewarming economic relations and removing sanctions with aggressor will just, push him to further aggression. It's like I said to Americans, I was in White House, I met also national security team of Vice President Vance. I said, that would be more or less like you, instead of punishing Hitler, you would just open all the markets of America to Hitler. You would just encourage him to attack. This is as stupid as it is, including with Belarus. We have some talks that it's time to make some money in Belarus. I understand that Trump administration likes money, but it might be very expensive money. We will lose our lives and territories. And finally, American soldiers will have to be involved in solving the issues. And my last thing, it's Russia. Well, I think we have to do with Americans what Churchill did with Roosevelt. We have to explain to them that this is not Imperial Japan, but this is Hitler Germany, should be a target. Lithuanians, being sanctioned by China, we should demand focusing on China, but we are not. We better try to explain to Americans that this axis of evil that is created, it is created by dying Russia. And Russia is on the knees. Russia is going down the hill. So this is time to push that Russia down the hill and punish that regime not only for Ukrainian excursions or Georgian excursions, for 100 years of excursions. Because appeasing Russia, that was always done more or less by the West, cost lives. It's a mistake. It's a sin. Well, I think we have to fix it. And you know what was interesting response by Sebastian, National Security Advisor of Trump. Okay, Gorka, he says he's from Grand Duchy of Lithuania. He says, okay, interesting, give me your ideas, what we can do with Russia. And I think on this moment we really have to feel adults. You know, I agree with Kubilius. Why we should always ask Americans to save our souls? Let's have our ideas. Let's put troops on the ground. Let's, revamp our defense industries. And those are not Americans to say what we have to do with Russia. We've been living and burning Russia for hundreds of years. We know how to deal with them. This is for us to tell. And even if we look small, we are not so small in our experience, in our wisdom, and our visions. So let's put our visions together, on Russia including, and let's transform this aggressive country to kind of normal. Thank you.
Thank you, Žygimantas. So to sum up, if our love for America is hitting the rock, so it's a window of opportunity to develop a deeper romantic feelings towards Europe. But at the same time, we shouldn't forget our all-time lover and to help old flame America to get back to its senses, to do a lot of explaining and trying to return to the conversation which is based on common sense and realities. So, thank you. Now our next speaker is Vykintas Pugačiauskas, who represents national broadcaster LRT, both on TV and on radio waves. Lately, he has a very good summing up of the week analytical program on Fridays on Lithuanian radio. And Vykintas is just back from Tallinn, from Lennart Meri conference, and you can compare who is doing better, Dr. Lammer's NATO hearings or Lennart Meri conference. I'm not fishing for compliment. Vykintas.
Actually, everyone is at a loss. So I guess that's the comparison. First of all, I do not represent LRT. Whatever I'm saying this myself. The second thing is, I also want to correct in the program, I'm introduced as a commentator. I'm emphatically not a commentator. I'm just a reporter. I do not, it's not my job to talk in terms of what has to be, what should we be doing, or whatever. So basically, I'm reporting what the people are saying. And at the Lennart Meri conference, I was actually shocked just yesterday. I was talking to someone who is very knowledgeable about what is about to happen at The Hague. If we can bring up the title. I will not be talking about situation from Armenia to Belarus to whatever. I'll be talking about NATO Summit before and beyond. So basically, I was also asking that person about the beyond part, and he said there may be no beyond. And when I said that, well, at least the current format of the Hague Summit, a short summit, just one session. We know that with Trump, NATO summits are one session so that he does not talk too much and he's not annoyed too much. I said, but with one session, you know, that was actually even the celebratory summits. If you recall the 2019 anniversary, they did not even invite Trump. They only did a ministerial so that Trump would not spoil the party. So basically, I said, yeah, but one session, what can go wrong? And that person said it's a 50-50 chance that, you know, he will go out of the summit claiming a victory, or that he would walk away annoyed by something. So they may well not be any beyond the NATO summit for NATO. Another thing, Professor Lammers, you started that Ukraine will be at the top of the NATO summit. I'm afraid it will not. I'm afraid, at least as things stand, your president may not be invited into the room. The situation now is people are trying to find a way to accommodate him, maybe to do a NATO-Ukraine Commission, NATO-Ukraine Council, but that would be a ministerial level. Would President Zelensky agree just to be in The Hague to, you know, to be with the ministers and maybe drop by with the leaders of the states? So Ukraine, I'm afraid, will not be at the top, and that's at the request of the Americans. Ukraine, it looks likely, will not even be mentioned at the final. There will not be a final declaration. It will be a document of 3 paragraphs, 4 paragraphs. At least that is what looks likely now. So basically, and that will be at the request and arm twisting of the Americans, of one person. So I'm afraid that's the current situation that I'm hearing from multiple officials inside NATO. What will be on the agenda will be capabilities and money, and that is also very problematic. Capabilities, well, your minister and you know, the defense ministers will talk about the capabilities at the upcoming ministerial, which was also moved to accommodate one person without whom, you know, NATO would not be thinkable. That's Pete Hegseth. But capabilities are, in a way, irrelevant. How much can you talk about the capabilities if it was also mentioned that on Friday the United States already put a time frame for the decisions of withdrawing from Europe, and that happened at the Leonard Mary conference. The US ambassador to NATO, Matt Whitaker, you actually have to see, not only listen, not only read what he said, you have to see you know, his demeanor and what he looked like delivering those comments. But basically he said after the NATO summit, the United States will come back to the Europeans with the decision, which means that NATO will go into the summit without knowing what will be the force posture, what will be the numbers of the Americans. And basically, ministers and the North Atlantic Council will be doing a nice summit, but the main meeting, the main decisions will come afterwards, and it will be a huge, a huge challenge to do something before the summit or in the run-up to the summit. Also, the money side of things, 3.5% for the hard spending and 1.5, it looks like, for the soft spending. It's also very problematic. I mean, 3.5 is already problematic given that 1/3 of the allies are not fulfilling the 2%, but 3.5 is problematic. But what's also problematic is the sort of the ways to reach the required level of spending. For us, smaller countries, less indebted countries, it's okay. I mean, if the increments are 0.2% for the next, whatever, 6, 7, 8 years, it's fine. We can buy a new HIMARS system, an additional every year if we can find it on the market, and we will be fulfilling those increments. But you know, if you're France or a big economy like Germany, you know, those increments are very steep. And you know, if we talk about unity, then of course we here feel the urgent need, but then you know we have to feel the concerns of not only economies like Spain or Italy, but you know the economies of like Luxembourg. They're a rich economy per capita. They are very rich, and for them to commit to the increments is also problematic without seeing this threat nearby. So these are the sort of near-term things going into the summit. But again, coming back to the beyond NATO summit question, the way it looks now, I would encourage you to read President Trump's speech in Saudi Arabia at the Riyadh Investment Forum, because this is the closest we came to the Trump announcing his foreign policy doctrine. Obviously, it was written for him. There were some very nice points there. He said, and then he repeated in Qatar, I think, the idea that I will not hesitate to use force to defend us and our allies. But then the doctrine part of it was that we're done with defending the values. And that is something that NATO will have to contend with, even in the short form declaration that is apparently being prepared. That the United States, at least for the time being, are turning away from the defense of values. What will the U.S. will be defending? It's a good question, but that's one thing. And I'm not going into all sorts of technical details. I mean, if the United States are withdrawing the lower ladders of conventional forces, will their extended nuclear deterrence work without lower ladders of escalation? That it will be up for the Europeans and stuff like that. So there are a lot of questions. So my two final points are one is the rupture apparently has already happened. It's just that both the United States and the European allies are trying to find ways to sort of put or to plan around that rupture that has already happened. It will be the numbers, the timelines of American withdrawals, the nitty-gritty, and obviously very, very hugely political, but the Germans made a request. We know that you will be withdrawing at some point in time. Please don't make it messy. But the second point is wars start when the aggressor sees that it's better to go in now rather than wait for the situation to deteriorate further on. I think that was what started the war. And I think, even though I promised to report only on what the others say. But if you look at 2022, the Russians decided that if we go along with Zelensky further on, he turned away from what the Russians initially thought he was, so they decided to move in. Now, if the Russians are looking at our societies, at our will to resist, at our capabilities, do they think this will be going worse or better for them? okay, the Romanians elected a pro-European president, but the Russians see that the society is split. We see the situation not only with Hungary and Slovakia, we see the situation in the Czech Republic, we see all the splits in Poland and elsewhere, we see the splits in the United States. And if the Russians, they may wait for, those situations to do their job for them. So it's a question of, are they inclined to attack us now, or maybe just to wait for the beyond NATO part to materialize. So that would be my intervention. Thank you.
Thank you, Vykintas. If Karl was talking at the beginning about wisdom being somewhere in between optimism and pessimism, I think Vykintas made a very valuable contribution to the pessimist end of the spectrum, and with some very tough realism and assessments. Indeed, as he took note, from the headline of our discussion, Hague before and beyond, and big question mark made by Vykintas on beyond. That means we are in a really serious situation. That means if American pillar of transatlantic relationship is moving away, that means we have with nothing else but European pillar. And again, focus on what we can do ourselves in this situation. So thank you, Vykintas. Now, traditionally, before giving public time to ask questions, I'm asking Ukrainian ambassador, because your predecessor was speaking after all were finishing their contributions. So I'm asking you, Olga, to say a few words. What are your thoughts when you hear all this?
Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the support. Sorry, I'll just move closer. Thank all of you for the support and for all of the nice, words you have been saying, which are not just words, but actions. But everybody has done a lot of contribution into supporting and assisting Ukraine, and into lobbying our interest, and to being an advocate for Ukraine in all of the spheres and in all of the organizations. I would agree with everybody, even with pessimistic approach, which is also true, and we really did not get an invitation to the NATO summit. I would like to say, yet being an optimistic, just introducing a little of optimism into this, yet not in any way, in any capacity. What I would say, and actually this is like a conclusion I have made with after hearing all of you, is never waste a good crisis, right? So, and this is what we all have been talking about. So if the world is shifting, and it is maybe not shifting in the way we would like it to, if the values, some of the values are falling apart, and this is not also what we want to see. But I truly believe is that even in this situation and in the crisis we are facing now, and the global world actually is facing now, there is always a room and there is always a way to reinvent ourselves, to reinvent Europe, to reinvent global security, to reinvent European security, to be a stronger actor in this arena. And Ukrainian war of Russians against Ukraine, and what Ukraine is facing now, this has long, a very long time stopped being just about Ukraine. it has a long time even stopped being just about this part of Europe, and I mean Baltic countries and Poland, because here I don't feel I have to explain anything on why it is important, because you know it. This is why we share this a very special bond, because you have been there and you know it, and the memory is still very, very vivid, and you understand that if Putin is gonna, go further, it's gonna be you who are gonna be next. And so he sees himself as the collector of the Russian land. So this is all, yes, it's about money, it's about, but it is also about the lands, because nearing his end, well, I mean, we will all be there, and he's not the youngest person in this world, but nearing his end, I think that he is thinking about what he will be remembered by. And this is not making Russia great again, or whatever, or any, or this is not helping his people. This is not developing his country to the point where everybody is looking upon them, and admiring them. So there is nothing to be remembered by, only by some of the bad things. So this, collector of the Russian land, I think, enables him to think that this is with what he will go great down in history. And the term of the Russian land, this is a very vague and a very wide term in the Russians' minds and in the Putin's mind. So Ukraine is Russian land, that's for sure. That's not even negotiable. Belarus as well. Baltic states, yeah, well, of course. Then Poland. But you know what? If he is not stopped, then France, then Britain, then Germany. He can always find some of the proof why it is Russian land has been, or whatever. So this is you have seen what he's talking about. So why it is important of the just and long-lasting peace, and like lasting peace, and not long, but like lasting peace, because first of all, the appeasement is a very dangerous signal sent to him, because like you rightly said, we have China, we have all of the other dictators in the world who might be seeing this as actually signal of moving forward and of being allowed, and that the principle might is right brings us back to the Mid Ages, right? So this is where it goes. But the important thing is that the ceasefires and the stopping of them at the point where he's allowed to take some of the Ukrainian land will just bring us again back to another war, and we don't know if it's going to be 3 years, if it's going to be 5 years of it, or if it's going to be 2 months. So just to finish, I thank you once again for standing with us and for standing with Ukraine, and I also thank you for and because we are at the front line of defending Europe, and I think so this gives us kind of a right to say that we actually, yes, agree that we should stay strong, we should stay together, we should stay united. And yes, of course, it is very important to keep the US being united with us as well. And I do believe being on the optimistic side, I do believe this is what is going to happen, and this is what is going to be there at the end. So thank you so much.
I think we will be adding some 10 minutes to our final time. So there is space for 2 questions from the audience. Who would like to? If there are no questions, we save time. Okay. So last point I want to make, I want to remind that Karl Lammers is a generous sponsor of students' essay contest at the MIU University. Students are writing every year essays related to NATO and security policies. And the winner takes 1,000 euros, second place 600, and third place 400. at least one winner is here sitting, Vladimir Tsipka from Ukraine. He took a $1,000 euro check. So I want to remind students and teachers that the deadline of this year's essay contest is July 31. So please take part, and you will end up on the path to the bank. So, and returning to our discussion, of course, this year's discussion is more pessimistic than a year ago, and not only thanks to Vykintas. We have indeed seismic shift situation, and transatlantic relationship and NATO in general is hanging in the balance between before and beyond. And I think our contributors were up to the moment to deliver their thoughts on what's going on. And let's hope that focus on European pillar, which emerged here as a very clear major focusing point, it will deliver, and in a year, next spring, sometime in May, we will be more optimistic. Okay, we see one question here. Please, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Iskander from the Dutch Embassy, and I had a question to the Herr Lamers, because he was talking about making a strength against Russia and making strength points. But the question I had is, how do you think that the European way of decision-making impacts the strength of the message we send to Russia? Because the European way of decision-making is often with a lot of actors who have to agree on something. And I was wondering how that impacts, according to you.
Karl, I believe the question was about the intricacy of European decision-making, which takes a lot of time, when Russia is much faster in its decision. So the question is, I believe, about, is it possible to make Europe speedier in decision-making and delivery?
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you very much. We have now here on the on the panel 2 European members of the European Parliament, but I think that Europe is getting better and is getting quicker. And what you mentioned is that we have to speed up our reaction. And looking to Mrs. von der Leyen, she said that maybe tomorrow we can wait for a new sanction package. And my policy is we make dialogue and deterrence. And deterrence is to make clear sanctions. That is the only language Putin will understand. And that means, and we have mentioned it here on the panel, sanctions against Nord Stream 1 and 2, against Russia's finance sector, against ships of the so-called shadow. I have just read a message of the Prime Minister of Estonia. He said that the contribution of the Russian oil export income by the shadow fleet is 60%. So we have to send a clear signal, and not in 3 weeks, but maybe tomorrow. And we have to do something, reduction of the oil price cap. So I think Europe can act very quick, very fast. And I think we live in a time we have to do it, that Putin will understand Europe stands ready.
Look, when we say Europe, we have to have very clear determination, understanding what we are speaking about. Europe as Brussels, or Europe as Netherlands, Lithuania, Germany, Poland in combination, I mean capitals. Why? Because according to our treaties, security and defense is competence of member states. Brussels now is doing a lot, I would say, in the framework of treaties, which is possible to increase, to boost our defense industries. It's according to the treaties. But without strong understanding, coherency and understanding in capitals, Brussels cannot do alone. Look, SAFE program or this Rearm Euro program, 150 billion euros is possible, is like an instrument for what? For capitals. To take loans, to help Ukraine, to have Ukraine as integral part of our defense security, because what Ukrainians are doing today on their defense industries is incredible, it's amazing. It's amazing. So sometimes we can learn more from them than only teach them what to do. So if capitals will not understand that it's opportunity for them, like Denmark did already with their initiative to help Ukraine on their defense capital. So it's huge opportunities. Brussels, we are, not we, but especially together with the Commission but European Council, heads of delegations, they have delivered much more. Because sometimes we feel that we in European Parliament, we are so united. Commission is willing to do, but they need support and deliveries from member states. So my question is to you back, dear ambassadors, to have very strong response from member states. Do your countries understand clearly in the same way as Brussels? Sometimes Ursula von der Leyen or others understand what's going on. That is our really existential war, and we are really in existential times. So I am giving this question back to you.
Well, very shortly, a good point. I think just days ago, we proudly celebrated Schumann's Declaration's 75th anniversary. It's good. I mean, it was good for at 50th university, 60th, maybe 70th, but not really for 75. And my question is, I mean, what kind of a Schuman Declaration situation we might have at 80 or 85? It's not far away from today. I'm afraid that the common agriculture policy of the European Union is more integrated rather than common foreign and security policy. So we're still missing major points and major agreements and instruments to come up with a common rather than national approach. So I really hope it is an incentive for, not just for EU institutions, but for member states to come up with a timely decision on next convention. It's not against the European Union's unity, it's not against the European Union's idea, so we have simply to respond timely and adequately to the all challenges we're facing now, and I still hope that this legislator of the European Parliament might see next convention framework being established. For the time of being, I'm afraid we don't see it. The European Commission didn't put it on a top of its agenda, but that's why we are MPs. I mean, things are going on, and I can tell you that federalistically minded members of the European Parliament, we are covering major mainstream political groups. We are active, but we have to come up with a certain proposal the European Commission and Council can't refuse. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Maybe you allow me one remark. A long time ago, Stalin asked how many divisions has the Pope, and he laughed. And he has fully underestimated the power of a Pope. And if you see what Johannes Paul II reached in Poland and then to destroy the communism system, I have full trust now in the new Pope. He has received President Zelensky in a private audience. He says he prays for the people in Ukraine. I think he will be a strong Pope, and I hope he will make great signals to pave the way to peace and freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karl. I believe the question came from representative of Netherlands. Yeah, so in terms of the country, RAS, they are doing quite nicely.
I know this, but nevertheless, we count on capitals.
Yeah. So I think Karl made a great last point about new Pope, and we heard a lot about importance of European pillar. Let's work for it, and let's work for more optimists next spring at the hearings. We are meeting in about a year again. So, good round of applause to our contributors. Thank you. And little presents on behalf of the university.
Rasa, tu dabar į tą ukrainiečių mokyklą varai irgi? Aš irgi ten varau. Tu turi mašiną? Gerai.